Welcome, Senator Gary Dahosa, Senator Godwin Doidong. We have you. Oh, we have somebody who is from our JCI AMESA Association. You're welcome. Senator Joko Tade, past national president. It's lovely to see you here. I can see Senator Ola Ogunlano, Senator Kunle Are. Thank you so much for joining us. Wow, it's lovely to have you. Senator Rotimi Adewale. So at least first, before we formally start, I would love to recognize those who I see as they come on. Is how do we ensure that people are not going to be bounced? People are saying they're being bounced. Please, Tosin, can you assist with that?
That should be their network. People are coming in. It's increasing.
And maybe what they're saying about bounce is, if they've not downloaded Zoom, is maybe redirecting them to their browser.
Okay. If they don't have Zoom 5.0, they need to install the latest version of Zoom.
It's none of that. It's none of that.
Hello, guys.
Good afternoon. Please, laptop. We don't know who is laptop, but we'd like to have your names.
Yes, so this is Bob Egbe.
We need to have your name. How do we do that?
Just right-click on your name, sir, and just change it. You'll see rename.
Let me see.
Yes, Dr. Egbe. We have Dr. Egbe in.
Rename. Does that work for me? Senator Muyiwa Bangboche. Good afternoon, sir.
Please release your camera so we can see you.
Where is my...
I just saw Dele's white beard and a rubami.
You said
Ola, I just saw your white beard and I was scared.
Fear not.
So Bob, where are you?
I am trying to get my camera to come on.
Okay.
Share screen.
And this is Gabe. It's not Gabe.
Gabe is here. I thought I saw him earlier. Okay, he's there.
It's not Gabe.
Who you are?
It doesn't look like Gabe.
All these ageless people. Okay, we are checking on you one by one.
Senator Bakari, I salute you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I know. Thank you.
Yes,
we need to see your photo now.
I know. I'm trying to. I'm trying to get it on here.
Muyiwa.
Excuse my manners. Or good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, everyone.
Good evening. My chair before. You're welcome.
Muyiwa.
Now,
good evening.
How do I look like myself?
Fine, thank you.
Let me use my binoculars.
My Senator Apiafi.
Okay, let me unmute myself. Let me mute myself now.
Very well.
Okay.
Joko, how you doing?
I do. Now that side. Hope you are not involved in protest.
No, not here. This place is too deep. There's too many rednecks around here.
Around there, okay. Just be careful. Stay safe.
Now, so.
So.
Okay.
Doctor, your picture is still not up. Can you check?
So, Mercy, can you tell me what am I doing wrong here?
What you need to do when you see, good afternoon, Senator. Excuse my manners, everybody. Senator Joko, good afternoon. Senator Dausa, I'm greeting everybody. And Senator Egbe, if you go to where the mute button is, you will see the camera feature. Just click on it. You will see something like a video sign right beside the mute button.
Yeah, to start video. Yeah, I thought I did that.
That's it.
Is it on now?
No, then it means that you have not allowed Zoom to have access to your camera.
Exactly.
You need to give it permission to access your camera.
Okay.
Go to settings on Zoom and then let it access your camera. Give it permission to access your camera and pictures.
This is Zoom 101.
Right. Right.
Good afternoon, Senator Dausa. Good afternoon, everybody.
Mercy, good afternoon. I'm seeing a lot of your good work. Well done.
Oh, I see our 2020 president is here, Senate Chair.
Stop video.
Senate Chair, 2020 JCI president is on.
Oh, wow.
Okay. JCI president. Oh, wow.
Senator Aki, well, I can see you, and wow, Senator and President Itai is here. You're welcome, President Itai. Good to have you all the way from Zim.
Thank you very much.
Live in Nigeria.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
President, welcome.
Well, President, I'm standing.
How can you be? You are sitting down.
Papa K.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Dr. Bogbegbe, we are about starting. We don't have your picture up yet, so
we can have his voice.
Okay. Because we really would love to keep to time. That's what JCI has taught us. So I'll ask that we all mute a mic so that we can have.
Do you have it now?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Great.
Okay.
So we're good to go.
For Begbe, that's only $1,000 for that tip.
The tutorial, Abi?
Yes, so. You have muted your mic. Don't worry, we'll discuss that one later.
Here you go.
Charge now for tutorials.
It's back up. Is it?
Okay.
Yes,
but you need to mute it now so we can.
You're back.
All right.
So I believe we all have our mics muted so that we can have this. The time is 4:03 p.m. Nigerian time. I'd like to formally welcome our distinguished JCI Nigeria senators, the JCI, and so many of our senators, Nigeria and outside Nigeria, who have joined us in this maiden edition of what we call the Lent series, the Leadership Excellence for National Development. And we have some team working behind the scene. This is going to be in 13 parts. So this is a first edition. And we're hoping that at the end of this webinars that we'll be having with, of course, we'll have some interval between the first and the next. We have another one coming up next week. And then after that, we'll move on to July. We hope that at the end of this webinars, what would have in terms of what our panelists would have given us as points will be compiled. And we have Senator Bayade Oshun leading the editorial team that will compile this and would have that in a book, in the form of a book, so that we can even look back and say it's not just a talk with this past 13 weeks, starting from today, that indeed we have come up with things that are laudable, things that can support leadership and national development. We have a lot of resources in-house. So we'll be calling on quite a number of our senators from time to time on being panelists in some of these discussions that we're going to be having. I'm glad that we have, and that's why we allowed this Zoom meeting to accommodate as much as 500 participants, because really, I think since COVID started, this is the first interaction we'll have as senators in Nigeria. And it's so good to see everybody. We thank God that we're alive. We have survived the first wave of the corona pandemic. We're praying that we would survive many more, because we'll outlive coronavirus, we would also outlive so many things. Thank you so much for joining us. We have our panelists. We have 4 panelists, and the moderator for today is Senator Tola Shogbeson. But we have our panelists, and there are some of them, we have a mix. People who have not been actively involved in JC for several years. Pastor Muyiwa Bangoshe, past national president, Senator Lateef Akonde Bakare, who was in 1984, I don't know, I hadn't joined the JCI then, but he was active then. And of course, we have our own Dr. Patrick Bob Egbe, right from his Uniben days to Ikeja, and now he's in North Carolina. So we have diaspora and Nigerian. And we have a younger senator. When I say younger, well, maybe not in the league of the 1984s, but she's also paid her dues, and she's also a female. So we're trying to also have that balance. Mercy George Igbafe. And these will be our panelists for today. We welcome you to the session, and we hope that would, at the end of this 90 minutes, have tangible things to talk about when we talk about leadership excellence for national development. Oh, I see the JCI Nigeria presidents. President Onyem Beledugu, you're welcome at this point. I'd like to ask you to go ahead and just say something to us as JCI Nigeria senators and senators in the diaspora. And I know that we do have some friends who have joined us. And after you, we'll have President Itai also talk to us for a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, JCI Nigeria Senate Chair, dear JCI Nigeria Senate Association members, and our friends, JCI President Itai Mayere. Thank you so much for this initiative. It's very important for us to have sessions like this in the times that we are in. I'm so grateful for the support we always enjoy from our wonderful JCI Senate Association. Thank you so much, Senate Chair. Thank you so much, JCI Nigeria Senate. I'm sure that at the end of today, we'll take out so much from this session. So on behalf of JCI Nigeria members, I'd like to thank you for giving us this opportunity to be here, to hear from such wonderful panelists. I'm sure we'll take out so much from you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, National President, JCI Nigeria National President. I'd like to call on President Itai to also, get us started, to say something to get us started. Thank you.
I'm muted. Okay, thank you very much, Senate Chair Kumbi, for the invitation and for having me here today. It's always a pleasure and very exciting for me to connect to JCI Nigeria, one that I'd like to call my second home. And I'm very much more excited when I'm among senators like this and mentors that have held my hand over time and have watched me grow in the organization over time. So I'm very excited also to be ones to have you senators being the wind beneath my wings that have allowed me to soar higher and higher over time. What I'm most excited about is how JCI Nigeria Senate Association has been vibrant, and I believe is a model across the continent in terms of the activities, in terms of even your seminars that you have, your Senate Association golf that you always have, and how you were so excited. And I was also very excited to hopefully have joined you later on this year for the AMESA summit, but one that because of COVID might not necessarily then go ahead. But I'm looking forward to whenever it's then held that we can come down to Nigeria and be a part of it. Most importantly, I'm very excited at the support that the Senate Association gives to the national organization, which is really the reason why we have a Senate, to be that support structure for the younger members. And JCI Nigeria Senate Association has been one to come out very strongly in that regard. But in this space where we live, where we find ourselves in a space of rapid change and embracing what we keep calling the new normal, and probably we are almost done with that wave. I came across a piece of text over the past few days, and I thought I would share this with you before I hand it back to the Senate Chair this afternoon. And it goes like so. What if 2020 isn't cancelled? What if 2020 is the year that we've been waiting for? A year so uncomfortable, so painful, so scary, so raw, that it finally forces us to grow. A year that screams so loud, finally awakening us from our ignorant slumber. A year we finally accept the need for change, declare change, work for change, become the change. A year we finally band together instead of pushing each other further apart. 2020 isn't cancelled, but rather the most important year of them all. Let us make 2020 happen, and it's really up to us to make it happen as we bridge the gap in 2020 and beyond. Thank you once again for this opportunity to talk to you this afternoon. Have a great one.
Thank you so much, President Itai. As usual, you always have something. Yes, 2020 is that year, the year of the bridge. And we pray that we'll live many more years. Thank you for joining us. We hope you will try and stay till the end, because even though we're talking national issues, but it also reflects with countries across Africa and indeed the world. I'd like to specially recognize the president of JCI Mauritius. Thank you for joining us. I believe she's in here. She came in earlier and I wanted to recognize her. Thank you so much. It's so lovely to have you here. I know that some of our senators still recall the last JCI Africa conference last year and how you were so wonderful hosts to them. May I ask that the moderator, Senator Tola Shubeson, takes over now so that we can go into the meat of what this webinar is really all about. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Senate Chair. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever we are joining us for this webinar. It's been an hectic period for every one of us. And one of the things we need to put together as what we've learned in JCI is to ensure that we always stay afloat and make sure we give back to the society in what is always about creating positive changes. Without much ado, I would like to introduce us to distinguished JCI Senate members that have served the organization while active, and they are still serving humanity in their respective endeavors. We've had Dr. Bob Hegbe, who had spoken a few minutes ago about what is happening with the Redskins in the US. I hope you stay safe, and you'll be discussing with us on health living. The whole essence of what we're trying to do with LAND is to ensure that there are always opportunities for JCI Senate members, or JCI for that matter, to contribute to the national growth. I would like to quickly introduce the profile of Dr. Pat Bobege, who was board certified pediatrician, fellow American Academy of Pediatrics. Is practiced pediatrics and adolescent medicine in North Carolina, USA. He's been a past EVP of JCI Nigeria. He was a pioneer Collegiate Conference chair for JCI Nigeria and a past president of JCI president. I know this is virtual. We may not be able to have a clap, but you can just do me a favor. Wherever you have a question, just applause by clap. Just type clap in the chat when we introduce our participant. I just introduced Dr. Bob Hegbe. Next to be discussing with us today is the one we call Lab. I'm wondering where I was when these gentlemen were doing it in JCI Nigeria. Latif Bakari, financial and management advisor of repute, with experience in all sectors of the economy, with a career spanning over 5 decades. He's an alumnus of Paper College of Technology, Oxford Brookes University in Oxford, UK, as a certified chartered accountant since 1976. He's been 45 years of respectable post-qualification experience. And he's a JCI senator, an honoree of JCI 10 outstanding young person in Nigeria in 1985. And is currently serving as a chair of major quoted company and non-executive director of 3 other companies. Can I please welcome JCI Senator LAB Latif Bakari? We just have a round of applause. You cannot clap, just type clap in the chat room. And we have, joining the two of them, we have Pastor Muyiwa Bamgbose, was past national president, joined JCI in 1980. I was wondering where I was in 1980. He joined in 1980 and became national president in 1988. He's an established educationalist, holds BSc Biochemistry from UI of Ibadan for that matter. He's has an MBA from UI of Ibadan as well, and a PhD from Christian Leadership Climate. Senator Bamgbose is a trustee pastor in Vine Branch Ministry, president of Christian Theological Seminary, which is an affiliate of Onabanjo University. He's the chairman of Sodaros Realtors Limited and a business Mission Nigeria. Please welcome with me, JCI Senator Muyiwa, Pastor Muyiwa Bamgbose. And last but not the least, the only female among the whole pack, I'd like to introduce Mercy George Igbafe, a digital strategist consulting in the Agile Scrum Transformation and Digital Marketing. It's an alumnus of the initiative by IFC and Access Bank and the Tony Elumelu Foundation. The graduate of University of Lagos with BS in Business Admin and Digital Marketing Institute, Highland. I welcome the 4 of them that will discuss today the maiden edition of LEND, JCI Senate Leadership Excellence for National Development. Welcome the 4 panelists. And to kick off the discussion, I would like to invite Dr. Bob Egbe. Yes, as a lot has happened since March, or when the global pandemic went bananas. Everybody has been keeping indoors. Everybody has been at the moment, can I please request the technical team to let's have the faces of our panelists, please. Can I have the panelists up? Dr. Bob Egbe, Pastor Bamgbose, Lab, and Mercy. Technical team, please. Can I have that on? As we do that, we welcome JCI Senate members that are joining from Nigeria and abroad, and like Dr. Bob Egbe to prepare as we ask you to discuss with us in 5 minutes. Before that, let me quickly mention that we have about 90 minutes for this seminar, for this webinar, and we're going to have a first round of questions that we kickstart the discussion. Each panelist will give us a few discussion, and after that, we'll throw the webinar open for questions from participants. Thereafter, we go for a second round of questions from panelists, and lastly, questions again from participants, and the panelists will come with a round-out discussion. As we await the technical team to upload the participants and the panelists, may I respectfully invite Dr. Bob Egbe. Since the pandemic started, we would like to know, we'd like to learn from your experience discussing healthy living as an essential component of leadership. Where are we at the moment as a country, and how do we get to where we are? Dr. Bob Egbe, please.
Thank you very much. First, let me thank the lead and her team for having me here and for finding a way during these tough times and the COVID-19 pandemic to keep us engaged. In direct answer to your question, Mr. Moderator, I would want to say that we are at a crossroads. Although healthy living is not a typical part of the job description of many leaders, And there's plenty of evidence in the scientific and medical literature to support the fact that it is fundamental to a medical concept called the biopsychosocial homeostasis. By this, I refer to the harmonious balance between physical and physiologic health on the one hand, and emotional and mental health on the other, both of which interface with the social and environmental relationships of individuals, in this case, particularly leaders. There has to constantly be some harmony in this system, otherwise things begin to fall apart very, very, very quickly. With the proper balance of these components, the human mind and body work seamlessly to produce consistently reliable, effective, and astute outcomes. So with when leaders engage and maintain healthy lifestyles, they not only boost their productivity, they also inspire their peers and followers who look up to them as mentors and role models. The result is a multiplier effect that that promotes healthy lifestyle in society. And if this happens, as you can imagine, positive change will happen in society. Unfortunately, all aspects of the biopsychosocial paradigm are adrift at this time, and that's why I came down on the side of crossroads. Like many situations in life, our priorities are gradually misplaced with missed opportunities everywhere you look. We have evolved from a society where we have 7 to 8 hours work days to now having more than 12-hour work days. Conversely, our sleep duration during these times have decreased steadily from about 8 hours on the average to 6 hours and less for many people. And this cumulative, this combination of less sleep and more work is a recipe for toxic stress. We have evolved as humans and leaders from consumers of balanced diet of healthy food choices, of whole grains and fresh foods, to now consumers of unhealthy processed foods and sweetened beverages. We do not drink enough water. We ingest so much salt. We have evolved from active and physical daily lifestyles to predominantly sedentary lifestyles. You wake up in the morning, get in your car, sit down, shuffle the room to the office. You get in the office, you sit down all day, and you get out of the office, you're on your way back, seated in the car, only to go home and sit for a few to watch TV if you have the energy to do that, and then go to bed and start the process the next day. Even for our brothers who on their way home will make a detour, when they get to the bar, they sit down to enjoy their alcoholic beverages and their fine cigars and cigarettes, and some of them will do some touching and feeling, and eventually, you know, get on to sit in their car again to go home, and then get another night of inadequate sleep. All of these over time becomes the toxicity that build up in people. Many leaders, like you know, will check the boxes that I have just described, if not all of them, and they will check most of them. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is the new normal for a vast majority of our leaders. What still, many of them do not realize the cumulative toxic effect of this phenomenon until they begin to see, witness increasing irritability, dissatisfaction, discomfort, headache, malaise, weakness, and then to disability and disease, and ultimately some will die.
Okay, so, Dr. Bob, I'm sorry, I'll need to just stop you there. We'll come back to the way it's flowing. I probably not even want you to stop at all, because we're just touching on the essential areas that everybody needs to talk. We'll come back to you for us to have a deeper explanation to this sequence. But while we're talking about that, you touched on two key things. The time has changed. Work cycle has changed. The psychology has changed. And I'll be turning to Lab from financial perspective. We used to think we need to work hard and hard and hard, putting more hours on the job. And now things have changed. And so I would like to ask Lab, the leadership what we are faced with at this time, what is the financial planning expected of us to get out of where we are now? How do we get to where we are in terms of financial planning, and how do we get out of where we are? Of course, we've seen from the medical perspective, there's nothing we can do about it. Things have changed. However, where we are, how did we get there? Did we mismanage some finances? Did we do it right? Are we supposed to do it better? Let us see how we get out of it. You're welcome, LB. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be amongst you. I hope you can hear me. Okay, so.
Yeah, very well.
Okay, thank you very much. When I got the topic, I was a bit confused because I said, okay, financial planning by leaders, Nigeria, okay, as a leadership development organization, that should be our task. And I can confidently say that maybe in the last 40 years, JCI Nigeria had played several roles. And so in looking at planning for personal planning first, if we look at personal planning, I think it's most appropriate now that we relook at ourselves vis-a-vis what we're doing. Certain things that we used to take for granted, I think we need to now be very conscious about it at the personal level, that we need to be conscious that funding may become an issue as this COVID-19 situation continues. Because really, when you look at global economics, the aggregate GDP by globally will reduce. And that means that what is distributable in the pot becomes less. So whatever comes to you, I think it's important that we should make the best out of it at the moment. Let us face priorities. Let us, like Dr. Egbe says, whatever would affect our health, we should make that priority, because the single most important thing now is to live. Because like Yorubas would say that a dead person doesn't worship the king. So, that is key. And when we take it a bit further and look at national Nigeria as a nation, in 1984, we had this submission. I'm sure Gabriel Muiwa will remember what we had when we submitted this Buhari's government in 1984, and we had several sessions at that time. And when I look at financial planning for Nigeria as a nation, I begin to feel nothing is missing. Believe me, I believe nothing is missing in our financial planning, nothing at all. Because at the time when we were preparing the papers, I had cause to look at the first national plan, the second national plan, and the third national plan. And in fact, my interactions with some of the ministers of the First Republic gave me a clue that, well, maybe what is missing in Nigeria is the will, the political will to execute the plans properly. And I guess we still haven't got to that position to get it right. And I see it as a societal failure to get proper leadership. Again, for an organization like JCI, we train leaders, but the society gets the leadership they deserve. And so if our society is absolutely unwilling to get good people into positions, we will face the consequences that we have. I look at Nigeria. If we look at the first national plan, where a lot were based, a lot of the effort at that time was based on agriculture. And at that time, agriculture was responsible for 62% of our employment. And at that time, our GDP was growing at about 3.5, 3.2% in the First Republic. Our population was rising at about 1.9 to 2.1%. So on the aggregate, we were not getting poorer as a nation. And we were also not, as individuals, we were also not getting poorer on the aggregate. But what had happened was that then oil came, then 1973 Arab-Israeli war, then the price of oil moved from $3 in 1973. And by the end of that year, it was $17. And then we felt, look, life has become something good. So we lost agriculture and we stayed with oil. And unfortunately also, I was actually reading a report today about how we had moved revenue distribution from 1960, where the states were responsible for 60% of the revenue that they get, either from minerals or agriculture, whatever. 60% goes to the states until sometimes in 1980, when everything became federalized, and then they start sharing. And then until about 87 or so, when OMPADEC was established to take care of the oil mineral producing, and then they had 5% revenue allocation directly from oil to OMPADEC. Then we moved to 13% derivation, which is where we are. What had happened to Nigeria for me financially had been that we've
Senator Lab, I would like to take a pause so that we can have this view at the next, because now you're about going into what we're supposed to be doing, and that will be the second round of questions we want to be doing. I appreciate the two key major things to touch for me. Number one, there's nothing wrong with our financial plan. I think we need to note that. And number two, we've had this everywhere. We've moved from agriculture to oil, and from oil, where do we move to? Now, are we moving to Zoom? Are we moving to digital? We'll be learning that from Lento at some point. Thank you so much. We'll come back to you. In the meantime, before I call on Senator Muyiwa Bambushi, I would like us to have a quick poll. We're going to ask us a few questions, and we would like participants to be on the lookout. We ask just some simple questions. Kindly just click on the poll, give us your feedback, and we'll continue the discussion. We've heard of intelligence quotient, IQ. We've heard of emotional intelligence, EQ. And from what we have heard from leadership in terms of financial preparedness, in terms of mental preparedness, do we have something that we lack in terms of spiritual intelligence? We want to take a look at how we get to where we are right now without preparation in terms of our spiritual intelligence, the spiritual intelligence of our leaders, or those of us that are followers. And respectfully, I would like to ask for past National President, Senator Muyiwa Bambushi, to lead us through how did we get to where we are today in terms of our spiritual intelligence. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I want to appreciate the organizers for inviting me and for giving me a topic that is unique to my situation. I want to start from the JCI Creed, the first line, which says that we believe that faith in God gives meaning and purpose to human life. I believe the divergence started from there. As a people, we started living life like there's no God. And it's got us to where we are, where we can see that indeed there's a lot beyond us. Now, going through the history of studies on intelligence, the first modern intelligence test was about 1904. and that was talking about IQ. And then everyone was about how intelligent you are, how smart you are, until 1996, when emotional intelligence came up. And again, everybody diverted to emotional intelligence, which is like giving us social capital. But around the same time, let's say like a year after, the spiritual intelligence group started coming up. There was Dana Zohar in 1997. The same year, Ken O'Donnell, an Australian, came up also with the same thing, spiritual intelligence. And 2000, 3 years later, Stephen Benedict came up with the same thing. In other words, man started realizing who they are. You see, as a pastor, I will tell you that man is a spiritual being. We are spirits. We live in a body, that's the physical. We have a mind. We're intelligent. And you see, when we sleep and have dreams, we know it's our spirit and our mind playing and things like that. So the most important of man, which is the spirit, is the one that was downplayed. So we started running about material capital with the IQ, which looks at what I think, how smart am I? Then we went on to social capital. How do I deal with people? Be it, I want to say, sometimes selfishly, sometimes you try to be nice to people so that you can get what they want, what you want from them. I always smile and laugh when I see banks having relationship managers and things like that. People to maintain a relationship, they greet you on your birthday. It's not because they love you, but because they want your money. All right. Then we now came to the reality. Look, it's not about just being nice to people. Why are you nice to people? We need to understand why we are where we are. So I know there have been a lot of theories about spiritual intelligence since then. But basically, I think we are where we are because we forget who we are. All right? We are spiritual beings. Spiritual intelligence makes you know who you are. Then we are not here by accident. There's a purpose. I'm using a few P's just to make us remember. So what's your person? What's your purpose? So we come to realize that there's something we are sent into the world to do. There's something we are given money to do. There's something we are wise for. There's a reason why we are healthy. Then there's a way to run our life, principles. I mean, talking about spiritual intelligence, it guides you. This is what God will have you do. You shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. Then it takes us to planning. You see, man has tried, like Elibi was talking now about, we've done all kinds of planning and designs and things like that. But I can tell you that the best plans are the one that God gives you. Of course, you must come with the principle of a heart of love. You want to do something good, not that you want to acquire or you want to excel over other people. So we need God in the discovery of our person, in discovery of our purpose, in walking through life with principles of God, in planning with God's wisdom, and in pursuit. There are so many things that we can't do by ourselves that we need to depend. I mean, COVID-19 has made us see ourselves as helpless.
COVID-19 has made us see ourselves as helpless. I like that last word. Yeah. Made everybody to be helpless, including those that think they know.
Before I power, all power belongs to God. So I want to start with this, that this is where we have missed it. That's why we are where we are. And to get back to track, we need to look at these things.
Okay, we'll be going back. We come back to you on the second track where we want to know how do we get out of where we are to go to where we desire to be. But a question I would like to throw back to you when I return is the function of, when we talk about God, the definition of God, some will argue that there are some countries that don't have God and they are doing excellently well in terms of leadership. So how do we relate their spiritual intelligence? Please keep that. I'll come back to you on that. Thank you so much, Senator Bambuchi. It's good to have the face, the name, the voice, the intelligence, and it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for having time for us. I would like to now have the last member of the panel. Thank you, sir. We'd like to call Message Buffett. In everything we have discussed so far, if people have been requested to ask, where do you find yourself in 5 years' time, 2015? What do you see yourself doing in 5 years' time? Nobody would have said, I'm going to be spending 3 months at home. I'm going to be doing this kind of session on the webinar. Nobody will be telling us that I'll be spending more time on the screen more than what's we've envisaged. So I'd like to ask, find our fourth panelist, Mr. George Buffett, digital strategist, to let us know, was the country, had the people prepared for where we are today in terms of digital economy?
Okay, thank you so much. First and foremost, I want to really respectfully say greetings to all my JCI senators. I know I'm the youngest amongst everybody. We're not ready. And we cannot pray it away, unfortunately, even in the midst of this pandemic. But let me take the word of the 35th American president. He said, leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. That's JF Kennedy. That's what he said. And for me, I think everybody here wants to make money, but you have to be ready to work at making that money. So as a leader, you need to innovate. You need to upskill. You need to learn. So you can't say you're a leader without learning. So 5 years from today, where do you want to be? What skills do you have that can help you to achieve that? I've prepared a PowerPoint presentation, which I'll just quickly project. Just give me 1 second, which I'm going to recommend that a lot of people, as a leader, you need to know how to engage with your stakeholders, which is very critical. It is very important. And there are resources, free tools that you can actually use to collaborate with your team, have an effective communication strategy with your people, your staff, internal, your external clients, and how to be able to pivot your business post-COVID-19 so that you can survive the 5-year cutoff that you have asked me. If you don't know these tools, unfortunately, you're going to struggle. 5 years, I see a lot of businesses closing down if you don't innovate. We can't keep blaming the government. You have to be ready to do your own part and trust God. I love what Senator Bagoshe said now. You can't do all of this without the help of Almighty God. You need God, but you have to do the work. The Bible says that God will bless the work of your hands, but a lot of us are not ready to do the work. We are expecting the miracle to come in. These are collaboration tools that is right at your doorstep. Majority of them are free that you can integrate into your businesses and start to use to communicate with your team. There's Trello, there's Slack, there's G Suite. We are already having a Google Mail. So it's there for you to use. Then I will speak on content. There are 5 stages. Everybody has a journey. Be you a child, be you an adult. So long as you know how to use. The founder of Wikipedia says, if it isn't on Google, then you don't exist. I'm very passionate because I see a lot of Nigerian businesses, technocrats that have what it takes to project this country in the right position, but they lack the technical capability to push their businesses, their content, what they know, their expertise, so that the world can see. The only thing the world sees today is entertainers. So these are tools that are available for you to be able to push those content out without overkilling it. We like to reinvent the wheel. There is no need. There are tools that are at your disposal to help you meet that 5-year cutoff mark. And it is there, it is free. Once you have perfected the act of using it and you want to upgrade those tools, then you can do that. But we cannot pray this COVID-19 away. It is our new reality, and I would strongly recommend that we leverage digital technology. Chinese people start training their children from the age of 4. So when they said that they emerged from a third world country to being controlling of the economy today, it didn't start yesterday. It was something they started working on. And I want to appeal to every senator here today and every Nigerian technocrat. It's not just the entertainers that can promote this country. You have what it takes to do that, but you need to learn the strategy on how to be able to implement those things so that you can take your business, your brand, your expertise. Otherwise, we all die with with these ideas of ours in the head. Nobody would know that what you have done, you have achieved this kind of achievement in your lifetime. So for 5 years projection, if you want to stay alive, post-COVID, you need to innovate. And Tola, over to you. I hope I didn't.
All right, thank you so much. I think that was succinct, very short and crisp. I would like to go back to Dr. Bob Egbe. By the way, we want some polls. We want to know where those of our participants to please attend to some of the polls we are putting up. And at the same time, we'd like to please, as we listen to our panelists, kindly note your questions. You can be typing your question. At the point, we're going to open the floor for you to type out your question. We'll read out some and we'll take a few of your questions, either directed at any of the panelists or you just ask general questions. Dr. Bob, incidentally, Jack Ma had noted that if there's any investment we want to have for 2020, the investment must be for us to be alive. And as we talk about the leadership and we want to make the best of what COVID has thrown at us, we want to ask ourselves, how do we get out of where we are right now? Where are we headed? From your experience, you're one of the frontliners. You've seen the trajectory of this treatment. Are we seeing vaccine? Are we seeing cure? Are we seeing prevention, social distancing, limited flights, limited interaction? From a medical perspective, where do you see us going as specifically for us as Nigerians? Dr. Bob Egbe, please.
Well, as it relates to the COVID-19, it is an unfortunate situation, and it's going to be our new normal. It's not going anywhere very soon until the vaccines are out to serve as a primary preventive strategy. We are going to be faced with some degree of COVID-19. If we are lucky, it is in the 5 to 10% range in terms of prevalence, and then we can almost invariably come back to our normal lives and just have to deal with it against the backdrop that a lot of people will be immunized. But this is going to be a new normal for a few years. And there's something we call herd immunity, and that eventually might help to curtail it, like we have had most of the other vaccine preventable diseases. When it comes to healthy living, how do we get out of it? The very first thing will be to acknowledge the problems and risks and consequences. To acknowledge that obesity and hypertension and other cardiovascular diseases are directly impacted by the way we live. Chronic lung diseases like bronchitis and emphysema, to cancers of various organ systems, we have to acknowledge that they have, in fact, a bearing to how we live our lives. Depression, anxiety, other neuropsychiatric symptoms and disorders are all things that we have found out to be one way or the other impacted by the way we live our lives. So we have to come to that acknowledgement that, yes, this is a problem, because that is the first thing. The next thing will be to have a change talk, and the change talk is a new phenomenon in medicine where you basically allow the patient or individual to probably contribute up to 60–80% of the treatment for whatever you're trying to do. But you have to, first of all, allow them to contemplate all the issues and make the decision. So in that interview, we call it motivational interviewing. You will eventually have to get to that point where you say, yes, I really need to change. Until you get to that mindset, that strong desire and motivation to change, it usually will not succeed. So that next step of creating a change talk and making the individual accept it, in this case, and the leaders accept that they have to change is important. Also, with this area of health, there are a few things that you can do that can impact a wide range of situations, from cancers to obesity to diabetes to hypertension. One of them, for example, is cessation of smoking amongst people who smoke. When you do that, that singular factor, if you're able to take people away from that, for example, you can impact so many disease processes that might result from unhealthy lifestyles. Another one like that would be physical activities. 45 minutes to 1 hour of moderate to intense activities 4 or 5 days a week is all you need. Of course, good nutrition. The vegetables and legumes and nuts and stuff like that are all low glycemic index food that we used to eat gone in the days. But people right now will settle for fast foods. We settle for sweetened beverages. If we can reverse that by itself will also make a lot of difference. Bottom line, individuals are going to have unique circumstances that need to be addressed, whether by way of their genetic predisposition or by way of their habits and their preferences, so that every individual will have to talk to themselves, that is a contemplation phase, and talk to their healthcare providers or their counselors to be able to determine what is unique to them. So apart from all those factors that I've enumerated that basically impact a lot of organ systems in the body, for every individual, there are specific things now that you want to do. The moderator talked about immunization. That is a universal primary preventive strategy. It goes for hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and all those stuff. If you don't have control over that, then it means that you are going to suffer some things that people don't even think about. So as a habit, people would adopt primary preventive strategies going forward. The second,
yeah. So just the final one on that, then I'll allow you to take the final one on that. You are about to say something, just say that one, then we can move to.
Okay, so in all of this, the mantra here should be action. People should be ready to act. It is not a question of let me put it tomorrow, let me put it next week. If you are that person who does not exercise, start to do it. If you are that person who does not eat good food, start to do it. Again, talk to your healthcare provider. That will make a lot of difference at the end of
Thank you so very much, Dr. Bob. The action, the most important thing for us is action. We must take action. And taking action, being healthy, one of the critical components of being healthy is being financially stable in the mind. So I will be able to do this. I would like to ask Senator LAB, we've been told the best thing for us to do today is to take actions. How do we take actions when mentally, financially, we are affected? We're not even thinking straight. We don't even know where the next meal is going to come. A lot of companies are furloughed staff. Those are the lucky ones, they are furloughed. Those that are not furloughed have lost a job completely. Those that are making money are not making as much as they used to make. That is a stressor on its own. Now, how do we get out of where we are right now? What action do we need to take such that we are moving from the stressor to the point where we are taking action for our mental health? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I said earlier on that what the single most important thing now is to be alive and to be alive well. When you look at the way we are in Nigeria, poor people, all of you are poor. And that's the reality that we have found ourselves.
Wow, yeah.
200 million people with a purchasing power of 5 million or 10 million people at most, it's a problem. But in the middle of it all, we must emphasize that we can reorganize ourselves both as individuals and as a nation. Talking about individual is to reassess yourself. You live in Lagos, you live in Ibadan, you live in Port Harcourt, you live in Kaduna, and you have no job. What's your business staying here? Go back to the village. So that if you are there, at least if we see one, no matter what, you belong to a particular entity as your origin. If you are doing small farming, you can at least feed yourself. The reality of it is that the 15 or 20 million people we have in Lagos have no business living here. And until we see that, we won't get anywhere. So as a person, we need to look at ourselves, have what we used to call critical assessment, psycho-cybernetics, where you look at yourself and say, okay, look, this is where I am. How do I survive? How do I live? You earn 50,000 naira a month. What do you want to do? I believe we understand where I'm coming from.
Beautiful,
that is,
yeah.
That is the reality first on the individual's basis. The next one, when you look at Nigeria as a nation, this COVID-19 has provided one unique opportunity for us. Unfortunately, the opportunity is sliding away now, because with oil now at $41 or so, that's a problem. Because I had wished that this oil remains at $20, $25, so that if it's lower than the cost of production, people will not produce. So we got to get back to do what we have competitive advantage in: agriculture, solid minerals. Today, you find a lot of places in Zamfara and the southwest of Nigeria where people are doing illegal mining. These are operations that we can actually do and make money. The government collects its royalty and everybody will be fine. What we need to do as a nation is we must address this problem of income distribution. The Minister of Interior was saying the other day, about 2 days ago, that we should tax the rich people heavily, so that if you tax them heavily, are you going to use it for end power and give people 10,000 every month without production? The whole end power money is a waste, because the guys collect the 10,000, they go back and sleep without effort. We've lost it as a nation because we've had this oil money that people, when you are sleeping, the oil rig is working, so there is no effort. Whereas if you don't plant yam, 8 months down the road, you will have no yam to harvest. If you don't plant cocoa or you take care of your cocoa, there will be nothing to harvest. So I believe we should all use the opportunity of this COVID to reorganize ourselves. Like Messi had said, it has been shown that Nigeria has intellect and very intelligent people here. We have if the owner of Facebook and all these guys are coming to Nigeria to poach people, it means we have, in spite of all of our headaches, we have people that have natural endowment. So we must aggregate this intellect, this tech, what I would call tech hubs. We must, as a nation, organize the tech hubs. We must, as a nation, organize the what I would call, we must organize what I will call the solid mineral resources, and then also find a way to get people who are not employed or who are not working to be gainfully engaged, such that
Senator Lam, I'm going to ask, so please take a pause at that time. It's been engaging. I appreciate the fact that you've touched a very strong point when we talk about the conservatives and the left versus the right. When you mentioned what the Minister for Interior mentioned, it has taken us to tax deciding which way do we go. Are we going to the left or are we going to the right? The leftists always believe that let's tax the rich and tax and tax and tax so that the poor can breathe. And the right says, okay, if we make more money, the more money we make, the more we make the poor to be engaged. And it's a dichotomy that is a bit difficult for us to balance. Maybe not on this webinar anyway, but it's a very good point you have touched. And for us to get out of where we are at the moment, we need to take a look at what model do you want to look at. Are we going towards left or towards right? But Senator Bambushi had mentioned something critical, that it is not about acquisition of wealth. It's not about acquisition of everything you are making just for the sake of getting it, but also the love with which you are applying that. I would like to get back to Senator Bambushi. As we are where we are. We've had from medical perspective, from financial perspective, we've had the 5 Ps culminating in the final power that Senator Bambushi had enumerated to us. Now we are where we are. What are the things we need to do for us to get better out of where we are at the moment? Senator Bambushi, please.
You're muted, sir. You're self-muted, sir.
Senator Bambushi, if you just check. Okay, good. Okay, you're welcome.
I appreciate some of the contributions of Bob and LAB and, and Mercy, yes. I believe the first thing to do is to accept that there's a new normal. All this staying at home, lockdowns, many people are hoping and thinking that it is temporary. And they are thinking that they will just get back on the trail and things will be back to what it was before. The price of oil may go up, but life has changed. That's the reality. Things are no more where they used to be. So we must know that things have changed. We need to have a new paradigm. We need to have a new mindset. We need to reorganize ourselves. Whatever we're doing, business, politics, even ministry, we need to reorganize ourselves. I mean, we look at our churches now, big buildings, empty. But people are still serving God, they're still growing, they're still moving. So in other words, we need intelligence from God. There's a passage in the Bible that I like to quote, Job, chapter 32, verse 8. It says, but there's a spirit in man, and the breath of the Almighty gives him understanding. Great men are not always wise, nor do the aged always understand justice. In other words, I want to encourage everyone on this platform, every senator, whatever your position, you need to go back and have an inside discussion with God. Ask for direction. I mean, we've done a lot of remodeling since this thing started. And let me say this, it's not necessarily bad. A lot of things that have happened are for the better. A lot of those things are for the better. But you must see them, you know, because one of the things that spiritual intelligence gives you is the ability to see good in adversity. Yeah, all these bad things have happened, but what's it? What's the lesson? What's the good thing to get? Because in pain, you can have gain. All right. So I believe we need to go back and meditate. Everyone must redesign. I wish we would take more of what Mercy was talking about. We must redesign whatever we're doing, whatever service, whatever business, whatever production, everything we're doing has to be redesigned. And we need the wisdom beyond what we knew, which I believe is going to come from God. When we start to do this thing, I mean, things are changed. I mean, we never had things like this. We traveled all over the place. We spent a lot of money on traveling, on hotels, and now we can stay at home and do what we used to go, spending money to do. So it's a new normal. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Senator Bambushi. That's succinct. we need to go back and have personal retrospection. It's similar to what Dr. Bob mentioned to us, similar to what Senator Lava mentioned. There must be individual retrospection. And Mercy, how do we reconcile this? While we were trying to do this self-introspection, where does digital strategy come in? How do we make best of what we don't know how to do? For example, I don't know how to make use of all these tools you have shown, Slack, even this Zoom. A lot of us are still struggling on how to make use of Zoom. You were trying to let Dr. Bob know how to unmute himself to make videos. Senator Bambuche is foremost educationist, he muted himself unknowingly. And yes, I want to say these are even those that are informed. There are few people. The other day, I remember Senator Canada was being tutored by his son to be able to use what Zoom is all about. So, Mercy, how do we make it easy for ourselves? What are the steps we need to take?
I will start with the quote by an American author. He says, accountability is the glue that ties commitment to the result. That's Bob Proctor. And most of the time when we point a hand at the government, we look up there. The government is you, it's me. JCI Nigeria failed, and I'm going to say it clearly. I went to JCI at Benin, I think the Southern Conference. I was so disappointed at the part that JCI Nigeria played. So leadership needs to start from inside. I said this to every senator here. This is an opportunity for you to win. I was on a plenary session by the Ministry of Tourism, I can't remember. And there were ambassadors there and they were speaking. One of the disconnect with Africans is not just a Nigerian problem, is Africans. We have such brilliant technocrats, but they are not visible. Intentionally, you hurt yourself. I'm sorry to say you die, nobody's going to remember you. The reason we remember Martin Luther King is because there's record that is available for us to refer to. So a lot of us have done ourselves the service. So that's the number one problem. JCI has the best structure for us to use to succeed. We have the collegiate.
Mercy, sorry, I'm not just jumping there. You said, yes, we understand we have issues, but can we focus on what we need to do? What do we need to do? Yes.
What we need to do is leverage on the collegiate structure. You don't need to go back home. They are there. Start to engage them. When they know how to use digital channels, there are products that are in the South, in the West, in the East. They become your foot soldiers. All you need to do is work out logistics on how to collect those things. There's a boy I got my phone from. I've never met him before. He was on Instagram. If those produce can come from those regions to where you are, you can be making money. Agriculture, people in farming made a lot of money right now because they're not import of food coming in as they used to. Chicken, people that sell, they sell out. So there's an opportunity for us to win now. But if your product is not visible for people to see and engage with, you will struggle. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. Businesses are going to struggle. Unfortunately, people have already lost their job. This is the time for you to leverage digital technology to be able to evolve your business. Start from where you are. It's not difficult. People think you have to learn coding. No, just learn how to use a Canva. Take a picture of your product. You want to sell yam. Take a picture of that product. Use Canva to decorate it nicely. Put it up on social platform. Let people know you can deliver tons and tons of yam. You have made money. Many businesses that were air decorating, they begin to make PPEs. You need to be ready to innovate. You need to be ready to evolve.
So key takeaway for us, we must be ready to embrace presence on the internet. You must learn how to make use of the internet to be of service to you. You must learn to leverage on the age group of the youth that Nigeria is blessed with. Thank you so much, Digital Mercy. Now we're going to open the floor. I want to thank all the panelists. We surely will never have had enough time to take everybody with the barrage of ideas that we're going to share with every one of us. We have almost 100 participants on the webinar. We want to thank everybody for participating with us. We want to take questions from you. We just take about 4 or 5 questions from participants, and we'll go back with the final words from our panels. So participant questions are there. While we are waiting for your question, we can as well begin the rounding out of the webinar. We would like to take questions. So if we have questions, can indicate in the chat room. Let's have your questions. While we are waiting for that, can we have another poll? We want to know where you are participating from. Are you here in Nigeria? Are you here in Africa? Or are you out of the continent? Let's have where you are participating from. Thank you. And please, we await your questions. As we await that, I would like to go back to Dr. Bob. I want to thank you for taking this off the panel. We may be getting questions. Okay, yeah, before Dr. Bob, yeah, this is even a good one. Senator, past Senate Chair, past National President, and past Senate Chair, Joko ask a question. How does one get a good night's sleep without medication? Dr. Bob, I'll please request that you give us your final presentation as you answer Senator Odebomi's question. Question again, how do you get a good night's sleep without medication? Free consultation there, Dr. Bob. Over to you, please. I hope Dr. Bob has not muted himself.
You're self-muted. You're self-muted again.
I'm still self-muted.
Oh. Okay now.
Yeah. Dr. Bob, engage the kids to go on 10-20 minutes training every day before.
Can you hear me now?
Now you are back on. You are back on.
My mouse was actually sitting on the mute button, so it goes on.
Okay, so did you get a question from Senator?
Yeah, I did hear the question, and I thought.
Okay, so 2 things. We want you to have your final words, and you please link that to the question that she had asked. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so it's a very good question. The sleep time is not when you sleep. Sleep time is before sleep time. You have to get yourself prepared, and one of the things you can do is to have routine. We talked about exercise being one of those things that can take on on many mortalities and disease processes. If you structure yourself in such a way that you exercise about 3.5 to 4 hours before your bedtime, that in itself will help. When you exercise, you allow your brain to produce enough chemicals that we refer to as endorphins. Those are chemicals that help in terms of making you feel good. When you come back from that, you basically now bring your metabolic rate as low as possible, whether it's taking a shower, whether it's taking a bath, and that will help. And then you want to try as much as possible to limit all the things that causes distraction. So you want to basically embrace what we call sleep associations. Is the television, is the lighting system, is the noise system, everything coming to a level where you basically flow into a state where you begin to want to yawn and stuff like that. So the brain produces also something called melatonin, and all of that is going to be boosted if you go through this routine of activity and then slow down about 2 to 3 hours before sleep. And then you, out of habit, you go to bed when you should go to bed. So that routine has to be there, and then the sleep association has to be there. If you have those things, if you note very carefully, I'm not talking about medications. I'm talking about natural things you can do to enhance the physiology
exactly
that can get it there. So when you do this, you probably are going to see an improvement in your sleep pattern if you're one of those persons who find it very difficult to go to sleep. I will be available if you want to contact me privately to.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Bob. Senator Kalada was trying to take a second profession in medical field, and they had actually consulted for Senator Joko Tali that she should go and take Horlicks. I don't know if you'd be available to mentor Senator Kalada as he wants to embark on a new terrain. Now, final question for you, and it's coming from Senator Ogunlana. So you talked about primary preventive strategy and in terms of vaccines. He's asking, how does this work and with the information of mutating virus? So what do we do to protect self? And that'll be your final shot. Thank you.
So that's another good question. Fortunately, we don't have a lot of viruses and bacteria that mutate like things like flu does. Even the coronavirus, we don't have enough evidence at this time to say a lot about it. But what we do know about coronaviruses, for example, is that they don't do that kind of shift and drift. What we call antigenic shift and antigenic drift that you see with flu, for example. So when we are lucky enough to be able to find a vaccine, I'm pretty confident that like hepatitis B, like chickenpox, like measles, we are going to continue to have immune rates that will range in the 85 to 90%. And so we are going to do well. Yeah, the immunization, which is one of the primary preventative strategies, is definitely going to make an impact with this COVID-19 virus.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bob. It's been a pleasure having you on the fourth series of this LEARN webinar. I'm sure at some point down the 13th series, we're going to have you back. Perhaps when we find the vaccine, you can talk about how we use the vaccine. Thank you so much. I know at the end of the program, the Senate Association Executive will do appropriate vote of thanks. I want to thank you for your time. And I would like to ask Senator Lab to please take the next question. From JCI National President, there has been a question that beyond the online trainings and projects that we do, how can JCI Nigeria as an organization? You did make reference to what you did in 1984, and some of your colleagues will remember as well. So the president wants to know, in this 2020, how else can we get members engaged, considering the mental health challenges being faced in this period? Senator Lab, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Engaging members, I believe, because of the circumstances that we have found ourselves, I guess the most important way of engaging at the moment is still through these online engagements. And as COVID-19 and social distancing eases, then we'll be able to have physical meetings and physical training. But I believe at the moment, you employing Mercy's technology and innovative methodologies, we can engage ourselves. I believe that at this point, the JCI Senate Association is particularly well placed because within us, we have the resources that we can actually organize the LUMs, even the collegiate LUMs. We can organize webinars and trainings like this and have some form of tests that we can conduct in order to improve people's well-being. I guess we are already talking about the new normal. These webinars, the Zoom, the Teams, will become the normal means of communication as we go along. And like Mercy spoke about innovation, don't innovate, die. That's where we're going.
Thank you so much, Senator Lab. Final shot from you, please.
Well, talking about finances, I believe it cannot be overemphasized, the need for each and every one of us to relook at our financial position in order to take appropriate steps to move on and survive the present situation. But more importantly, I think the JCI Senate Association can also put together certain thoughts on what I think we should be doing as a nation towards navigating the present and the post-COVID environment that Nigeria is going to find itself. This is a charge to the JCI Senate Association, and I believe we are best placed to discharge this responsibility as part of our service to the nation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you. And like I did mention to Dr. Bob, we should be having a vote of thanks at the end of the session. I have two questions for Senator Bangbushi. Incidentally, is the educationist amongst us. Is the other doctor apart from Dr. Bob Egbe. And there's a question for you that how schools are closed, the public sector is not accessing education. How do we bridge the gap in the experience that is missing in the educational sector? And I want you to please link this to the primary and secondary education in view of the tech. For example, University of Cambridge had announced in April that all the courses, school will not operate until January. All courses will be operated online. And we have challenges of infrastructure in Nigeria. So how do we bridge this gap? That's a question coming from one of our participants. Senator Bangbushi, please.
Well, thank you very much. The students are at home, and let me tell you, they will still be at home for some time. I was speaking to them in the Ministry of Education, Federal, and this story about SS3 going back to do WAEC is all fake. They're going to be home for some more time. Now, on our own part, we had gone in the direction of e-learning many years before this happened. We've done what we call School on Air. And about a week ago, we started 2 channels on StarTimes, 364, 365. One is School Senior, one is School Junior. It's a partnership with School on with StarTime and 2 of us. Well, but we are the ones providing the stuff in Oyo State. You can ask those who are in Oyo State. We gave resources to the Oyo State government on the state television. In fact, 2 TV stations and 5 radio stations, they do lessons for the kids every day. And it's almost better than what they used to have, because, there are schools where they didn't have teachers in some subjects, or the teachers they had were cheaters and not teachers, cheaters. All right, so I believe it's for the better. It's for the better. And let me just use this forum. If you are a JC senator or you know anyone anywhere, especially suburban, and you want to collaborate with us, we're starting something with JCI Senator Tunde Ojo around Ijebu-Jesha. We have the content, and all we're doing is releasing it and making things better. We know along the line we will get blessed. We will get our funding. So I think some children are now getting better education than when they were in school. That's the irony.
Thank you so much, Senator Bangbushi. That's promising.
Sorry, let me just say something about Cambridge. Not only did Cambridge tell the universities to teach online, the Cambridge exam was cancelled. There's no exam. But what they did was to ask us, because we are a Cambridge school too, to provide predictive and for forecast grades for the students.
For forecast grades, yeah.
That you can defend. And that's what they're going to use to give them their A star, C, whatever. And it's interesting that the federal government Ministry of Education is also considering the fact that they might just ask schools to promote children. They say 1 year is not that all important. They're not ready to risk life. So it's the new normal. So I believe we can all learn from ourselves a wealth of experience. I would like to relate
Thank you so much.
Later on her learn thing. Yes.
Okay, well, you maybe at the end of the session, because we would like to just have a final word from you. And Mercy, we now have our own final word. Do you have a question for Lento?
No, I mean, I'll discuss with her later. That will be...
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much for your time. It's been very educative. Of course, you're an educationist anyway, so it has to be education. Thank you so much for your time.
Do I have a parting shot?
Yes. Yeah, so just let's have it for a time.
Yeah, you see, as JCI said it was, I believe, somebody said it, I think it's Mercy, we have a lot to do. I asked myself, why did we have this organization? Why did I join? You know, why were we exposed to what we were exposed to? Why do we have this network and we can't do anything about this country? I think we need to, we can have a brainstorm session. We did Project 2010 at the time. We looked at Nigeria years to come, and we can still sit down together. Well, we don't need to sit down together. Luckily, there's a platform like this. We can have a brainstorm. We can bring up stuff. If the government doesn't want to listen to us, let us put the people there. I can see Ogala, Kwame hiding somewhere there. You know, we have what it takes to make this country right. And I think it's time to come out of our hiding. Joko, you are listening, every one of you, you know, let's put something together. If the people in government won't do it, let's push them out. Let's put people who would do it, or let's put our people there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's thought-provoking. You are going back to your active JCI days, full of power. Thank you so much, it's a pleasure. And I would like to have Mercy have a final shot, please. As you are responding to that, as you are giving us a final shot to Mercy, there was a question that says there are some people that are just not teachable. How do we engage those that are not teachable? Over to you, Mercy.
I actually don't agree. Everybody is teachable. I want to just quickly advise, there's a question for JCI Nigeria, how to integrate JCI Nigeria and leverage what we have. I propose you migrate everybody to Telegram. I love what Telegram has. It has the power of authority for the admin is unprecedented. You can reduce the permission on Telegram and it can take over 200,000. And I know we are not up to 200,000 as JCI Nigeria member, both collegiate, everybody, put rules there and you can delete messages, use Telegram. Then there's Google Hangouts, everybody's on Gmail. It's a no-brainer. Google has 94% of the world's content. I recommend you use that for your meeting and leverage Google Form. Create pet projects that they can work on. Start using Google Form to generate data so that you know what the polls is. And finally, I would say to JCI Nigeria, create a one-on-one session where they can actually speak to older people. Bring Senator Bamboshe is not a training. Let them ask him questions that bothers them on how they can now find a solution. Senate chair, bring them one-on-one session, leverage on what they have. They say that data is a problem. I say it's a lie because somebody argued with me. There's data as cheap as 200 naira that they can buy. Unfortunately, what they consume for data will blow your mind. They are on the internet browsing for music, browsing for African magic, browsing entertainers, but they are not learning. So what COVID-19 has done, and Dr. Bamboshe is very correct, that it has forced people to learn. My children, I had to give her a phone. She's an 8-year-old, although she's about to pass a digital marketing, Google digital marketing exam. That's the kind of children I'm trying to raise because I don't want to get into trouble. So it's a must that we need to reorientate, and nobody is too old to learn. All these things are at your disposal. We have one of this country, Apple, Jeff Bezos came here, Mike Zuckerberg came here. Why do you think they came here? We have the consuming power, but unfortunately, we are not doing the right thing. Many of us have the most expensive phone. We don't use them for anything that is going to add value to our businesses, to our brain, to our brand. So this is where I'm going to speak. Then the guy that spoke on the tourism, my advice to you right now, it's your chance to become a star. Start going to historic sites. Start documenting those journeys. Because when people are ready to start traveling, because they know that you have been documenting this, you will be the go-to person. I got a message from a governor today and said, Mercy, I'm seeing your work. That blew my mind. If I did not put the work in, it would not be noticed. So it's time for us to start leveraging. I can't sing this enough. Leveraging digital technology. Post-COVID is going to be brutal. That is just my own personal advice. And there is nobody.
Thank you. That's once it comes to digital, I know you can speak for the next 2, 3, 4 hours. It just makes you happy, making people better. Thank you so much. We are closing, and I want to thank everyone for participating. We'd like to have the final poll. If this webinar had met your expectations. Thanks again to Dr. Bob. We know it's an awkward time from North Carolina. Senator Lab, we brought you out of your cocoon. All the three of you that have been resting, haven't put in so much years into JCI. We thank you for making it possible to do the maiden edition. A few things could have gone better, but we want to thank you for making sure that we keep to time. I'm sorry I'm not able to allow you to have more words, but we want to keep to time. We don't want to bore participants for too much. It's a maiden edition. We hope as we go along, we'll get better. I would like to turn over the program back to JCI Senate Chair. Thank you. It's been an opportunity for me to moderate this session, and I look forward to another program down the line. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are coming from. JCI Senate Chair, please. As I'm waiting for JCI Senate Chair, please, the poll is on again. Did we meet your expectation? We have almost 100 participants on the maiden edition of this webinar. Can you let us have your expectation? Let's have your, don't mind me, I'll be battling with some medication. Okay, I'm saying we have a poll on. We'd like to have an evaluation if we have met your expectation with this webinar. I'd like to have JCI Senate Chair to let us have the closing of this program. Thank you so much. It's been taken, yeah. So Senate Chair, back to you, please. Okay, as we await Senate Chair to Senate Chair.
Well,
thank you.
Yes, I'm back on. Thank you very much. I'm not going to be the one to give the vote thanks. We have the Vice Chair, Senator Nneka Tabo, but I see that Senator Babatunde Kwame Ogala wants to possibly respond to some of the things that Pastor Muyiwa Bangoshe has said. I'll say that he should chill. We're still going to have a series where we'll bring those of our members who are doing very well in the political landscape. And I assure you, so take this as an open invitation already. Senator Ogala, you are going to be one of the panelists there. So you can, and it's just going to be within the next few weeks that we'll have that. I'd like to hand over. I won't be the one to say thank you. I want Nneka, Nne of Africa, as we call her, to say thank you. But it's been a pleasure having everybody here. We're conscious of your data. That's the new way I hear they call is data. Maybe I'm old school, but I hear they call it our data. So we are conscious of your data, and we thank you for joining us. Nneka.
Thank you, Senate Chair. Good evening, everyone, once again. On behalf of the Chair, Junior Chamber International Nigeria, Dr. Kumbi Wurola, would like to express our profound gratitude to you, senators here present, the National President, the JCI International President, Itam Mayere, our distinguished guests and friends. I can see lots of people that are not JCI members that are here. We sincerely appreciate your, being part of this maiden edition of the LEND series. We call it LEND series. LEND here is basically, let me just call it for you so you understand. Leadership Excellence for National Development. That's the LEND series that we are doing. To our distinguished panelists, Dr. Bob, Pastor Muyiwa Bangoshe, Lateef Bakare, my boss, and of course, my babe, Mercy. We truly appreciate your presentations. They've been very wonderful, exciting, and very informative. I also like to use this opportunity to thank the coordinators of this webinar. They don't want to be known. They are anonymous, but this is also an opportunity to invite you to the next series, the second edition. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. It's going to happen next week, Sunday, June 14. Time is 4 p.m. Please stay tuned to this channel. You don't want to miss it. Thank you very much, and do have a wonderful evening.
Yeah, I think everybody should turn on their camera so I can take a picture. Selfie moment for the group.
Okay, please, everyone, turn on your camera. Olu said, I think there's Wasil Shoagar. Please turn on your cameras so that we can take a picture. Just a quick one.
Yeah.
Zenith's vice, chair. You know why my camera was off. Come on.
You can put it on now. It's just a quick one. Okay, so Mercy, our digital senator, can you take the picture?
I'm taking one. There are 2 pages. Give me a sec.
There are 3 actually, 3 or 4. Yes. Let's know when you're done.
Yep. Okay, I'm taking it.
All right, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Senate Chair. Thank you to the organizers, and let's be out of here. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
I just wanted to say that this is available on YouTube, and so if you want to go back to listen to this, please go on we share the link for the YouTube. Thank you, everyone, and we're signing out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Senate Chair, thank you. Tola, Neka, bye.